Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
I have an author who I'm just so in love with her book. I have to tell you, you've heard of Mary Pitman. She was on our show a few times, and it's called The Little Book of Missing Money. She called it The Big Book of Missing Money. She said little because it is small. It's a quick and easy guide to finding money that is rightfully yours. It's the fourth edition, meaning it's so popular that she has to keep adding another edition with some new ideas. So welcome to our show, Mary.
Thank you so much, Anita. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to share the information with your listeners.
You always have been. You're just so great. And there's lots of things that you have in your book. And before we even go with anything, I just wanted to tell our listeners that I read a lot of the books that, of course, the authors put in because I have to do a book review. This was a little bit more interesting in many ways because it's almost like a puzzle. So you have to go in, and she'll explain it even better than I'm doing it. But if you want to search names for, you put in names, and then you put it into different categories. You go to different categories, and you put in names, and it will say very quickly, nothing, nothing, nothing. But I was very lucky. It was a local government, I guess, because we used to have property in Miami. And I put in my name, nothing came up, and just for some reason I put in my husband's name, and sure enough, there were, and I'm looking at it right now, there were two tax receipts that never got taken care of, and it came to probably close to $285, and I couldn't believe it. And of course, it tells you what you should, what you have to send them, and then they're going to send you. So it's like a certified copy of something and another certified copy, and it was just perfect. So I was so happy that Mary put this little book out, and of course Mary's going to tell you all about the book and why it is so important, how much she loves to hear people who are able to take her book and find money. So go ahead, Mary.
Well, the book started out because one of the nurses I worked with told me about the whole concept of unclaimed property, and I kind of rolled my eyes and said, oh, my God, you're so gullible. So I was going to prove her wrong. And like you, I ended up finding money for a deceased family member. And it's a little bit more involved when there is a death because, as you mentioned, and we're both in Florida, I had to include a certified copy of the death certificate, a copy of my birth certificate, because this was from my father. I included a copy of my driver's license to show I am who I said I am, and they didn't ask for it, but I included a copy of my marriage license to show my name change because I thought otherwise they're going to say, oh, no, we need this. You're going back to the end of the pile.
Huh.
And in about 5 weeks, I had a check for over $2,500. So
oh, that was nice.
A believer. And it was so much fun to find money for my coworkers, my friends, the doctors I work with, the hospital I was at. It was awesome. And I just got hooked on it. And when one of the nurses I work with, when I told her about it, and she eventually got the money, when she called me when she got the money, and she had just this massive string of bad luck. She called me from the post office. She said, Mary, I've got checks in front of me. Well, they all came to $2,556. And when I told her how much the total was, because she hadn't totaled it yet, she just started sobbing.
Oh.
She said, I don't know if you heard. I was at a benefit for my cousin who was struck by lightning twice. I tripped over one of those things in the parking lot. I fell and broke my arm. I've been out of work. I don't have insurance. I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent.
Oh, my
and that rocket propelled my desire to put all of my information together into a book.
Oh, that's such a fantastic story. And I guess, though, you have a lot of people who probably call you or get in touch with you after to thank you, don't they?
No, actually, I don't usually hear from people.
That's terrible. So you heard from me.
I know, and you're the exception to the rule, and that's okay. I put it out there. My job that pays the bills is I'm a nurse, and I do this with the heart of a nurse, because you never know who's struggling financially. And especially now with so many people being out of work, not being able to work remotely, like being a nurse. I can't work remotely. I can't phone it in. So you just put it out there, and before every interview I do, I pray that people who have been praying for a miracle hear this information, act on it, and it's the answer to their prayers.
Right. Well, see, so I am kind of an exception that I did tell you. Well, I haven't finished looking. I thought I finished, but I'm going to go back again. I'm sure I've got some that weren't, that maybe there's something else. And I was hoping that some of my relatives who I know are so in need with money, there was something there, but so far I haven't found it. But it got me very encouraged, and so maybe I'll find some more. I'm not finished. But let's just, something else you said in your book, though, I remember, just because I do it now, I could do it 6 months from now, and something could pop up.
Yes, new listings are added all the time. So just because somebody may say, I looked at that before, there was nothing there for me, look again.
Yep, I'm going to do it. Well, there are a bunch of questions I think you can answer. Let's talk about avoiding missing money scams. Now, what's that all about?
Well, missing money is, I think, a hot topic for a lot of scam artists, because second to winning the lottery, probably most people's favorite fantasy is inheriting a fortune or having money that they don't know about. Mm-hmm. So one of the red flags is it comes as an email. And that's a red flag because the state unclaimed property offices do not use email to contact you. They simply don't have that information, and it's too hard to verify that the email address is truly yours. If you get anything from them, it would be in the mail. And what I would encourage people to do is, if they do get something in the mail, Google the state unclaimed property site to make sure that it's not somebody who's making it look like it came from the state, and use that contact information instead of, or verify it with what you got in the mail. Another red flag is it says it comes from the National Association of Unclaimed Property Administrators. Now, this is similar to, let's say you go to your doctor to get lab work. The American Medical Association is not going to send you your lab results. It's the same type of thing. The state unclaimed property office is not going to turn that information over to the professional organization, the National Association of Unclaimed Property Administrators, commonly known as NAPA, and have them contact you. It just doesn't work that way, but it sure makes it sound official, doesn't it? Ooh, I got something from the National Association. This must be real. Nope, that's a red flag. The third one is if you get referred to someplace else. The state treasurer or whoever's handling the unclaimed property office handles all the claims through its own office. The work is never outsourced. If you're asked for your
No, I was going to say, okay, you did say in your book, though, that there are companies that find your information, that they find that there is a claim, and what they get a fee for it, right?
Correct.
So that's real. That's real. It's just you have to pay a fee rather than you're doing it.
Right. And I'll touch on that when I've got three more.
Okay. Flags. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay, because that's a very important aspect of what is legitimate and what isn't. If you're asked for your bank account information, red flag, leave. Mm-hmm. Now, claiming it through the state, you do have to insert your Social Security number, but never your bank account information. There's no direct deposit with unclaimed property. If there is a fee to file the claim, this is false for all 50 states and U.S. territories. Legitimate search firms do not charge an upfront fee. If you do use a professional finder, you pay after you get your money, never before. And the last one is, if it says it's from me, there's a website out there that has my pictures on it with Jeb Bush and is claiming to be me, and it isn't. And I've tried to get Facebook to take it down, but I will never, ever do an email or a letter about that, ever.
And why would it have been to you? Because you wrote the book?
Scammers using my name to make it look legitimate.
I see. Okay. Well, that's a good point then. So you're saying, in essence, like when I got this, I saw it, and I did get a real notice from your claim form attached, and it says everything about it, Florida Department of Financial Services, Division of Unclaimed Property, Tallahassee.
Yes.
And I have a claim number, so this sounds very real,
yes,
doesn't it?
That is, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so go ahead. You had a few more?
I was going to say, as far as legitimate notices, some states, there are professional finders who this is how they make their living. They'll search for unclaimed property, reach out to you, say, I found this amount of money for you. I will file it on your behalf for a fee of whatever. Now, the thing is, most states have limitations on when the finder can contact you and how much they can charge. I did put a list of all of those in the back part of my book, and it varies greatly from state to state. Some of them say the listing has to be in state possession for at least 2 years, which gives you a chance to claim it on your own. But the thing is, by the time you work through the finder and give them all the information, you've basically done all the work. They're putting a stamp on it and sending it in. And you're sharing your personal information with people that you really don't know. So,
and also, they're not going to be able to send in the death certificates and all that.
Right. You would still be responsible for getting all of that and sending it in. So what's the point? Why give away part of your money when you're still doing all the work?
Well, I think, in my opinion, the way it happens is because they don't have your book, and they don't know how this person found it, right?
Well, that's true. But I try to put as much information out there so people can do this on their own. I certainly have additional places and search tips that we could never cover.
Right. Well, you also point out, even though they didn't thank you, which I get very upset about, the fact you told me that, is that people have gotten a lot of money now. You, of course, mentioned $2,500, but why don't you tell some people about some of the amounts of money that people have gotten?
Well, when I was working on the 4th edition, I went to the U.S. Treasury Department website to see if there was anything new on savings bonds. And there was a momentary glitch in the system, and it brought up individuals' names, and there was like no rhyme or reason to it. There was no alphabetical order. It wasn't by state. It's just a hot mess. But I found listings for one lady in Pennsylvania. I did some research. She was 74 years old. She had just sold her house. I think it sold for $130,000. So, like a modest house, not living large or anything. The money was left to her from her father, who died in 1996. And there was one bond for $500. There were 4 bonds for $1,000, and there were 50, that's 50 bonds for $10,000 each.
Someone
total amount.
I can't believe this.
I looked at that and I thought, I have to be doing the math wrong.
Right.
That's happening. No, where's my calculator? Oh, my God, I am doing the math right. So I did some more research. I reached out to her daughter because I didn't want it to look like it was an elder scam or anything. And I walked her daughter through it, and she was like, oh, my God, I found it. I said, there you go. All I ask is if you could give me a quote I could use for my book. And then she ghosted me.
Oh, my goodness. I can't. Now, so someone actually bought 50 bonds at that much money, and he probably wasn't a rich guy. He probably did it over a period of his life, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He on Ancestry.com, on a census thing, I found that his first job was he was a messenger boy at the Naval Yard in Philadelphia.
Oh, my heavens.
Yeah. And that money would have never been found or known about without that momentary glitch in the system, which they subsequently fixed.
Okay. And so go ahead, though. You did tell us, though, money will sit there. and they're not going to make a phone call, but you said that they just it sits there for many years, right? They can't take the money, the states, or right?
There's no limit on when you can claim, except for Indiana will keep your money after 25 years. No matter how much, no matter how little. Yep. That's the only state with a time limitation. And I think that's horrible, because so many people still don't even know about this. They don't know that there is a legitimate aspect to this.
No, that's true. I loved your book. I mean, and I keep this book really on my coffee table, because when people come to my house, when they used to come to my house, the first thing they look at is that, and then I just explained about it. Now I haven't written everything yet to get my money. That's the other thing, because once I get it, I'm going to get that check, and put maybe a copy of the check and show people. But there are, and I will talk to you after. There are a couple of things they want from me, and I'm not quite sure what I have to do, so I will ask you. But let's just. So you said you are now going to travel. Do you do talks on this? Tell me what you do with this, with your book.
I can customize any talk to any audience. Seniors, real estate agents, banks, doesn't matter. I love this.
I know you do.
This is my passion. Like I said, you never know who's struggling financially. And I just put it out there, like seeds on the ground. Just toss it. Right. And let it land where it's supposed to.
Okay, and so I just want everyone to know again, I don't, if you've just tuned in or you've been listening, I'm talking with Mary Pitman. She's the author of The Little Book of Missing Money, A Quick and Easy Guide to Finding Money That Is Rightfully Yours. It's the 4th edition, and you can get this by going, I guess, to Amazon. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. It's available in the paperback and ebook format. And if you don't have an e-reader, Amazon has a free download that you can use.
That's great.
The ebook has the advantage of you can just click on the links instead of having to manually enter them.
Mm-hmm. So, in your book, you have things I've never heard of, like there's a U.S. Railroad Retirement Board. There's a New York State Deferred Compensation Plan. So all these places could be having money, right?
Absolutely. I met with the executive director of NAPA when he was in Washington, D.C., and I was working up there, and I left a copy of the book for him to read before we met, and he said, "You have places in here even we didn't know about." So I consider that quite the compliment.
Yes. And how did you find those things? How do you find everything? You have so much in there. How have you found it?
I sign up for what's called Google Alerts. So anything related to unclaimed property, I get an email about, and it's like a real-time thing. So I know pretty much that day when there are changes and such.
Now, it's funny you should mention that. A friend of mine always sends me interesting information. I said, "Where did you get it?" She says, "It's sent to me by Google Alert." So I'm getting on that, and so you have to put in the kinds of things that you want that they should send you, right? And it's free.
Correct. So I entered unclaimed property and my name. I did have missing money down, but it ended up being a lot of reports about theft and robbery.
I see.
So I just do my own name, so if something comes out with my name on it, then I know.
I see. Yeah, okay, well, that's good. So that's something people who are listening, there is a Google website, or I guess you just put it out, Google Alert, and put in what you're looking for, right? I mean,
correct. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the other kinds of things? Well, the only thing you can do is put your money and put your name and say missing money, huh?
Yes, or unclaimed property.
Unclaimed property. That's very
right.
important.
Where people want to go to search, the only place I send people for the state sites is unclaimed.org.
Unclaimed.org.
Right. If you get to a site and they want to charge you, then you entered it wrong. Because there's an unclaimed.com, and they will charge you. They're hoping that you put it in wrong. It's unclaimed.org.
Oh, yes, you're right. People have done it. People do that with phone numbers that are so close to another phone number, and if you don't get it right, it's an advertising company.
Correct.
They do the same thing. So I see where you have electric deposits, you have savings bonds. Now, electric deposits very common, I'll bet, because when you move away or something, the electric company's supposed to return it or credit you, but they may not.
Right. One of the things I advocate is if you've been in your house for a while, ask to have your deposit refunded as a credit on your bill. That way you don't have to worry about the deposit getting lost in the mail.
I didn't know that. You can, because they trust you because you've been there long enough?
Because you have a track record, yes.
Huh. Well, that's another thing. You didn't say that in there, I don't think.
I think it's in there somewhere. I'm pretty sure it is.
Oh, yeah. That's very good. I'm glad you told me that. So on any deposit, maybe, you could do it.
Water, electric, gas.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my heaven. And then I love your fun facts. They're very good, too. You're so clever. And so I think the one thing that happens is a lot of times they ask for information that you just absolutely can't find. And so you probably just say, ho-hum, forget it, right? But maybe there's someone that can help if they find that. Someone can find someone that will help them get it, their lawyer or somebody, right? I mean,
yes, absolutely. One of the things I do want to mention is looking up a lost estate, like a inheritance, in where it asks for the last name. And this is important because some of the states, their search engines only take what you put in, and that's it in that sequence. So if you're looking up an estate where it asks for the last name, enter estate of or the estate. In California, that brings up over 89,000 listings. And unless there is a beneficiary named in that first line in the name spot, you will never find it. In New York, the same thing brings up over 35,000 listings. And New York has one listing for the state for $8 million.
Oh, you're kidding. And what is a person's name?
I do not kid about $8 million.
No, I don't. Is a person's name?
Oh, they don't put the person's name out.
So what does it say?
It says we're holding one listing for an estate for $8 million.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. That'll make your day, won't it?
Yeah, but I would think if they have the name, shouldn't they pursue it? I mean, wouldn't that be
They do not. New York does not look for you.
That's too bad. That doesn't make sense. I mean, maybe they say if you call us and we'll tell you what it is, but you have to donate 10%.
They can't do that.
I know that.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about it. So let's talk a minute as a nurse, because I know you're going somewhere. You're you're traveling, and I admire you for doing that. But I don't think I would do it. But you're being very careful. Why don't you tell everybody what you're doing?
I work as a travel nurse. That means I take temporary assignments in places with a temporary need. It's usually 13 weeks at a time. My next stop is Little Rock, Arkansas. And it's a great way to see the country. I realize there's a lot going on right now, but I know how to wash my hands. I have masks. I have gloves. And I won't be stupid about traveling.
And I would think at this point you're going to be in desperate need because there's short people everywhere, right?
The needs are ramping up. New York is absolutely out of control. I pray for those people. They said that they don't have the personal protective supplies that they need, that they're being forced to work when they're sick. They aren't getting tested. It's horrible.
It really is. It's such a catastrophe here. Talk about a pandemic. I mean, people even used that word before. Now everyone knows what that means. It's, we all know the word epidemic. We don't know what pandemic is. Oh, my heavens, it is horrible. And you as a nurse, you really do feel this so badly. So what this other part of your life brightens it up, and it keeps you interested, I'm sure, and, away from all that. But let's just hope that that within the next couple of months we can get cleaned of this. But some of those places are they're so desperate. I feel so badly. We need to help them in some way, and I hope that the big companies start making those ventilators and do all the things they're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
So how will you find more things? Is it just now you probably think you found everything, so will it just be by chance?
Yes. One of the things that I just found was prepaid college tuition plans. In Florida, the money that is listed on this site, if it's not claimed by December 31st, the funds will be permanently forfeited. And there are some listings there with names of people in other states. So people should check their own state's prepaid college program.
Oh, that's interesting. So those are the people that paid for their kids all those years, and then somehow something happened to them, and no one ever told them that they had that, and that could have added up, right? To a lot of money.
There's no activity on the account. If there's no activity on the account, it's deemed dormant and is at risk for being turned over to the state. But in this case, these accounts were canceled 7 years ago. So there's a surprise for you. You put money away, you think that you've got your kids or your grandkids covered, and you go to get it, and it's gone permanently.
And that's legitimate, huh?
Yes. So please check if you did a college tuition plan for your kids or grandkids. Please check with your state program and see what the status is.
Amazing. And how about this pre-need burial insurance?
Now, that is really interesting. That's something I just came across. There's no oversight for this aspect of insurance when it comes to unclaimed property, and so there's no database to search. And these policies can be issued either through funeral homes or insurance companies. The biggest obstacle is that the survivors don't know about the existence of the policy. And it's not like regular life insurance policies, although in my opinion it should be, where the company is required to check the death master file. The money is there, it's available, but you have to know about it. And here's the other catch. The funds could be lost forever if the policy was bought through a specific funeral home and that company went out of business or the ownership changed. Or maybe you moved away and completely forgot about it.
But no, there are ownerships have changed in that field. I know that. And so It's gone then when that happens?
Yes. They just hold on to it. There's no regulatory agency that makes them turn it over to the state as unclaimed property.
So how can you actually find it? How do you said there's enlightening information about funeral in the article funerals.org, but how can you then get it? You can't.
That was about pre-planning your end-of-life services without prepaying them.
Thank you.
And what they advocated with that was set up a savings account that's designated POD, payable on death, and make sure your family knows about it, because as soon as you die, then that money can be taken by them to use for your services, for your burial or cremation, whatever you want.
Oh, it's almost exasperating in a way, because you do know so much. We have to, oh my heavens, you have to write a book about this, Mary.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure that's what happened over a period of time when you got all this information. Someone said, we better write a book about this, right?
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the reasons that this came out. But the last one you have here is a pension benefit guarantee corporation. What is that?
That is kind of like an insurance program for pension plans when a company goes out of business. The really important thing here is bowing to the union's desires for lower premiums. Congress failed to run the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation's multi-employer program like a private insurance company. Now it's massively underfunded and will be bankrupt by 2025.
Well,
some of these companies are well known, but they went out of business. A lot of airlines, Eastern Airlines, Pan Am, TWA, Jacobson Stores. It's worth a look if you worked for a company that went out of business to see if you have anything there.
Yep. Well, I think we've come to the end of our time, and it's always so much fun talking to you. I hope you're going to be safe in your trip. And we'll stay in touch, and if I find anything else, I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to talk to you also about something I have to figure out what I need. So, Mary, thank you so much, everybody. Buy her little book of missing money, Mary Pitman. Thanks again, Mary.
My pleasure, Anita. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.